Welcome back, everybody. This is Question Mark,
And I'm Ame.
and today we are looking at the main set, Secrets of Strixhaven. This is the standard set, and we're going to be ranking in this tier list all of the new legendary creatures, all the new commanders that are available in this set.
I am so annoyed. There's no Adrix.
There is no Adrix. There was a Nev in the last video that we just watched, and because you mentioned it, I'm gonna go on a brief aside immediately. And actually, I'm just noticing. I think that I am missing one commander from this list. But real quick, my own design on Adrix is this: the Dean of Theory, because the other one was the practical Dean,
Yes.
and he was green. It doesn't have partner with Adrix because Adrix doesn't exist, but I gave this one partner with Nev, so you could play Adrix as your commander, and Nev is sneaking in there, but you can't do the other way around. Doesn't matter. But the original Adrix and Nev had Ward 2, so I used the ability from Nev, but when they have counters, they have Ward 2, and similar trigger to Nev when you cast your first spell with X in the mana cost each turn, but this one makes one of the fractals and puts counters on it. So they work very well together.
I don't understand. Nev's artwork looks so set up to be one half of a full picture.
Yeah. Let's see. We just for a second had the original Adrix and Nev up
Look
there.
at this. Doesn't look the
He's
the
off-centered.
He's off center. There's a circular pattern.
There's an
Adrix is clearly supposed to be standing there out of frame.
There's an extended art of it, and there's no other half. And Adrix and I have always debated for the betterment of our students. That won't change now we're both deans. This also
So
bugs
where's
me.
Adrix?
So, it doesn't imply that he's dead. The art being off-centered seems like perhaps he is just to one side or the other. And lastly, I think that they may have a grammar issue here. That won't change now we're both deans. Shouldn't that say now that we're both deans?
I think it works either way.
Oh, that sounds like he's doing some slang. He's getting real casual with it, despite being a dean of Quandrix. Like, that won't change now we're both deans. That doesn't sound right to me
That
at all.
won't change now we're both deans.
It should definitely be that. We're now both deans. But honestly, keep in mind that the designers of Magic the Gathering these days are working as fast as they can. They are so overworked because there's so many sets coming out, and I think that they are still very talented, but mistakes get made more often when you're rushing, and I think that all the sets we've seen for the last year or two have been rushing. That said, the first commander that we are actually supposed to be looking at today is Abigail, Poet Laureate,
Owl!
who is a character that we immediately like.
I like that they use sign language in the trailer.
And they have like a little earpiece thing, like a lot of people with hearing issues
Oh, a cochlear
have.
implant.
Yeah, so I think it's supposed to be like a magical kind of cochlear implant. So it is representation for people with disabilities.
Honestly, that is so cool. I love this character. And for 1 mana, a white and a black, you get a 2/3 bird bard.
Bird Bard.
With flying, she's got flying, and whenever you cast a creature spell, Abigail becomes prepared. Which means that if you pay 1 and either a black or a white mana, you can put a 1/1 counter on a target creature as a sorcery.
Yeah, so this is going to be our first card, at least today, that is a prepared spell, which, honestly, I love a lot of things about this. I love the choice of the word prepared. It fits with a school that you want to be prepared for class, and also that they have this spell prepared like you would in D&D or something. And it logically flows then that if they are prepared, then they are capable of doing the other thing on the right, which in this case is Heroic Stanza. Abigail being a member of Silver Quill, they are focused on language arts. And so a stanza, of course, is like a bit of writing.
Yep.
So Heroic Stanza, it puts a +1/+1 counter on target creature. That is weak, honestly. A sorcery, even for 2 mana, that's hybrid, that puts 1 counter on a creature, is quite weak. But there's another version of Abigail, this one, Eloquent First Year, who we saw just a couple months ago, like 2 months ago in Lorwyn Eclipsed. This is the same character, of course, and I believe they said that Lorwyn has a class of students from Strixhaven who are visiting it as like a field trip or some kind of study abroad program.
Cool.
And Abigail is one of those first years. And here she has Flying, First Strike, Lifelink, and when she enters, you can make a creature lose all their abilities and then put 3 ability counters on it. Flying, First Strike, and Lifelink. This is interesting and has some potential. So I try to draw kind of a through line of, okay, that's Abigail. This is also Abigail. Now, she's still flying, of course. She's a bird. Mm-hmm. She's still black and white, silver quill. In this case, though, she can put a +1/+1 counter on a creature rather than a flying first strike and all that counter.
Oof, this is kind of a downgrade from her previous incarnation.
Yeah, the other one I'd say is difficult to build around, but has some high potential when it comes to creatures with bad abilities that you can make good. This doesn't do a lot at all. And she only becomes prepared when you cast a creature spell, and then if this cost 1 hybrid mana, then I think I would like it. But costing 2, okay, I know that uncommon legendary creatures these days are often designed to be signpost uncommons. They're supposed to show you what the main mechanic is for this faction and lean into it. And the black-white silver quill mechanic for this faction, or for this set, is having instants and sorceries that target creatures. This does that, but it's just very weak. So, I'm hesitant to put her all the way down in lame. Is she better in the 99? I don't know, actually. You know what? I'm sorry.
Oh.
I think I have to put her right down in lame.
Oh, homegirl.
A sorcery that puts 1 mana on a creature is not very good. A 3 mana 2/3 flyer is okay. Like, there are so many spells that can put a +1/+1 counter on a creature for 1 mana and are an instant, or they do this, but then it's like indestructible until your next turn, or any number of things. So, it's just unfortunate.
Sorry, this looks like it was a rough term for you.
Yeah, this is not her prime. Then we get to a new character who I haven't heard of before. I imagine that's going to be the case often during this.
Oh man, I read that as dentist for a moment.
Oh no, and you've got some experiences with dentists recently.
Oh yeah, I have popped a filling twice in the same month. I'm going to be getting a cat
3 times?
Okay, so it popped once, but that was like 2 years ago, and then I got it. Okay, 2 years ago it popped, got it replaced. 2 years go by, earlier, like I think it was like 2 weeks ago, it pops again. I go to the dentist and get it fixed. Pops the day after I get it put in, and then I have to go again. And now I'm going to have a cap put in next week because something about having the regular kind of filling just isn't working out.
Jeez. But she's not a dentist. She's a Deathbloom botanist. Some kind of like combination of Deathbloom and botanist might be dentist. But what does she do?
Well, for 2 mana and a black, you get a 2/2 vampire druid with Death Touch. Whenever a creature you control with power or toughness 1 or less dies, target opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. And can I just say, I love her outfit here. Just look at those. We've got the long sleeves, we've got the hoodie, but they have got all those leafy spines on them.
Yeah.
Poison Ivy would kill for this outfit.
I know, it's like she heard that wizards are supposed to have really wide sleeves, and she's like, yeah, but I want to put teeth on them, like thorns or something. And and same thing with her hood. She's got like teeth and horns on her hood. So it looks kind of like her face is in the mouth of some monster's
Or
jaws.
in some, more like in some monster plant's jaws.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
looks so cool. I love it.
And she's got these little, I guess they're pitcher plants. She's got little ones that she's harvesting in her hands, and she's
Those are
got big
gigantic
ones in the
ones around
background
her.
with little lizards and stuff in them. They're all feeding. That's so cool.
Be right back, gotta go feed the plants.
Oh, and the flavor text.
My lovelies need meat, just like any other carnivore.
So obviously her lead Pokemon is going to be Victory Bell. I've been getting kind of into Pokemon Champions lately, so I've seen the new Mega Victory Bell is a like giant fat sack that is just tied at the top. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah, I've seen it. It looks like a plant with digestive issues, and I feel bad for it.
It is exactly that. In fact, the Mega was just revealed to have that its ability is Pukumuku's ability, innards out.
Oh
So
no!
when it faints, it deals damage to the enemy based on its HP before it fainted, but its HP isn't even very good, so it looks like that's going to be kind of a waste of a Mega. Regardless, this card, this magical card, I think is pretty good. Honestly, I think you could build around it, and you could build a pretty fun deck playing small creatures. It reminds me a lot of Shirei, a five
Woo!
mana commander that I helped a friend build and optimize for a couple of years. And this was like her best and favorite deck because we played lots of small creatures with one or less power that would sacrifice themselves and come back repeatedly. An important thing about Shirei here is that it can trigger on anyone's turn because it'll bring the creatures back at the beginning of the next end step. So she would have like four creatures that had die triggers, sacrifice them all on her turn. They come back at the end, sacrifice them on each opponent's turn. You get like four uses of them. So Shirei would definitely go in the 99 of an Arnin deck or vice versa and be very good. But I think that also Arnin would be better in the 99 of a Maren of Clan Neltoth deck. Maren is a famous and popular commander that's been around for years. And she cares about when creatures die, you can bring them back based on their mana value. Starting off small, she builds up experience. So she's normally a commander who, she gives you access to green, which is a big deal here. So, but the thing that Arnon does that the others don't is have a clear path to killing your opponents and staying alive. So I'm torn, honestly, on if she's better in the 99 or if she's actually good as a commander, considering that, well, the main trick is you need to have a constant supply of creatures with power or toughness one. I didn't notice that part. I just noticed the power or toughness one. So you could actually have really big creatures with tiny little butts. And, I'm having a hard time thinking, shoot, there's a 7/2 in black that you can play. Okay, you know what? She might be better in the 99 of a Maren deck or a Shirei deck because then you can keep the ball rolling. But honestly, you can put in stuff like, am I thinking of Unearth? Yes. Return a creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. You can do stuff like this. You just need to spend a lot of resources on bringing those creatures back repeatedly. And then I think she may have high potential. So,
She'd be a nightmare if you could get her enough tokens.
oh my god, yes. In fact, she doesn't say that they have to be sacrificed.
Right.
So you can sacrifice them. You could get them killed in a board wipe, like Damnation, or which, by the way, if she dies at the same time as those other creatures, she will get all of the triggers of the other creatures dying alongside her, and you could win the game with like a Damnation or a Toxic Deluge or something, even if she dies in it. That's okay.
I think we've got a high potential, which is pretty rare for a single color.
Yeah, for a monocolor uncommon creature, I think she's actually got pretty good potential. So let's move on to Aziza, Mage Tower Captain. This is the athlete girl, I guess.
I like her.
Oh, and Mage Tower is the Quidditch with the with the plates filed off or whatever.
Yeah, with the serial number filed off.
Yeah, and I believe the sport has to do with like capturing your opponent's mascot and bringing them back to your tower. Regardless,
For a red and a white, you get a 2/2 Djinn Sorcerer. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you may tap 3 untapped creatures you control. If you do, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. Good play, team! Now let's run it again until it's perfect.
everyone else about to pass out. In fact, the bird has already passed out.
Guys, flying burns calories.
Also, I love anytime that we get extended art. I love even sometimes there isn't anything in particular there, but I love getting extended art on my commanders whenever I can. And also, usually extended arts will not have reminder text, and I often don't need the reminder text, especially if it's your own commander.
I do.
Yeah. But this reminds me very much of the Conspire mechanic, like on cards like Wart, this one. Come on. Come on. Okay. Wart the Raid Mother. When she enters, create 2 goblins. Each red and green or green instant or sorcery spell you cast has Conspire, and that means that as you cast the spell, you may tap 2 untapped creatures you control that share a color with it. When you do, copy it, and you may choose new targets for the copy. So you can see how this is similar. That you have to tap 2 creatures in order to copy an instant or sorcery. This one you have to tap 3 creatures in order to copy an instant or sorcery. The other one's red-green, this one's red-white, so they are kind of a different take on the same thing.
She has green lips and hair.
She does, and I think it's because she's a Djinn, so she's like, the in-universe version of like a genie, but Djinn in Magic are not necessarily trapped in lamps or beholden to wishes.
Well, that's the case with the Djinn of Middle Eastern folklore as well. There's a whole lot more going on with them.
Oh yeah, I mean the most famous Djinn for Western culture is like the genie of the lamp from the Aladdin story, even specifically the Disney version. But Djinn are, chaotic spirits in Islamic folklore.
Yes, there's a lot going on with them, and I don't know it all,
Yeah.
but it's worth a Google.
But on Arcavios, the plane that Strixhaven is on, Djinn are usually red aligned, kind of free spirit creatures that are, a little bit elfin, but they tend to have like just one thing of hair like that, pointy ears. Yeah, interesting stuff. So to get back to it though, Wart is a commander that you don't see people use very often anymore, even though you need 2 red or green creatures in order to copy your red and green spells, and she makes them. And I think it's partially because she costs 6 mana to get out, and is
Yep, that would do it.
So she's a little slow. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised that I don't see her more, other than she's just also been around for a long time, since Shadowmoor. People don't really remember Conspire that much. She was in 2008. So Aziza, very similar, but she comes out on turn 2, and there's a lot of cards in red and white that you could get out for cheap and copy that will help you make all the creatures that you want to use to copy her spells more. Raise the Alarm is the first thing that comes to mind. Raise the Alarm. Oh, that's not
The
quite how you spell.
Alar.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah. So just a 2 mana instant, they'll make 2 soldier tokens. This is one of the more efficient ones. However, I think you want to be leaning on cards that make like 3 or more. Will be another one. Call of the Coppercoats. AKA Call the Cops.
No.
No. Maybe don't. I don't know.
Well, only if
Think
I think
twice before you call the cops, everybody.
only if I think the situation will be improved by a dude with a gun.
Oh, what? Oh, you know what? I think it's not Call of. Oh, and I left on the O.
Call other cops.
There it is.
There we
Call
go.
the Coppercoats. Yeah, so choose any number of target opponents. Create X 1/1 white human soldier creature tokens, where X is the number of creatures those opponents control. It's an instant for 3 mana, and it has strive, so you can actually choose more opponents to get creature tokens based on if you pay 2 mana more. So in this deck, Call of the Coppercoats is one of the best. As long as you assume that at least one of your opponents has a handful of creatures, then you can cast this. You maybe even can strive it, and if you do so, Aziza will copy the version of the spell with all of the additional targets. So if you strived it, say, once, you targeted 2 opponents, you're going to get like 7 soldiers. Aziza goes to copy it, and she will have both targets. You'll get 7 more soldiers, so it'll be 14 or something. So Call of the Coppercoats is a really good one. I think there's also Nomad. Oh shoot, there's been so many new Nomad cards. Nomad's Assembly. Is this put a core creature token on the battlefield for each creature you control? Yeah, so let's just double them and rebound. So
That art is giving Wrath of Khan in a good way.
oh yeah, okay. And the courier soldier creature token. And this has rebound, so it will already copy itself next turn, but that means that you can tap 3 creatures to... Oh no. Okay, if you cast Nomad's Assembly and copy it with Aziza, the first one that resolves will make you a creature token for every creature you control, and the second one... So you're doubling and then doubling again, and then rebound will double again the next turn, and you can copy that with Aziza as well.
Oh no!
So Nomad's Assembly seems kind of slow and bad considering it's 4 or 6 mana compared to the other one I just showed, but...
If you can pull it, it's going to be a nightmare.
And of course, there's all these white cards that allow you to get more tokens whenever you get tokens. O'Hare Talk being the most impactful one because it says you don't just double, you triple the number of tokens that you create.
And let's not forget Ocelot's Pride.
Oh yeah, Ocelot Pride. This one's still very expensive, but it works great in these token creating decks. It's a little tricky how exactly it works, but for the most part, at the end of your turn, you make a cat if you gained life, and then you make more copies of each token that you created that turn. So this is 1 mana, and it's kind of an anointed procession where you are doubling the number of tokens, but also it has life. You just have to gain some life.
So Aziza's terrifying.
Actually, yeah. You know, she is she's a piece in this engine of making creature tokens mostly with sorceries and instants. That's the thing to keep in mind, is that strangely this is going to be a go wide deck that is going to play probably 10 or 12 creatures.
And that actually works well with her theming. She's a team captain, so she's got to have a team, right?
Yeah. So just keep in mind, though, how you want to win. All of this stuff is good, but at the end of the day, I think that you also need some stuff like Perforos. Perforos. This is the one I'm thinking of. Whenever another creature you control enters, Perforos deals 2 damage to each opponent.
Woo!
Yeah, stuff like that. Oh, and of course you can give all of your creatures +1/+0 until end of turn, so if they're all 1/1s, that effectively doubles their damage. You can also play the new, I think his name is Slash. Right, Slash is probably going to be on a lot of Magic cards. But, this guy is the Perforos we have at home. Whenever another creature you control enters, Slash deals 2 damage to each opponent, and when he attacks, you make a mutant. So, Slash would be good in this deck. So, Aziza, though being kind of an unassuming 2-mana 1/1, no keyword abilities, doesn't say draw cards, doesn't say accelerate mana, missing a lot of the things that I talk about, I think she's... you know what? I'm going to put her all the way up in exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't see a lot of decks like this, and she might be the best, given that she comes out so early. She can even die and be recast. She's not necessarily the most important part of your strategy. She just takes your strategy and amps it up.
Yeah.
So, love it. Love it.
Yeah.
And she's 2 colors. If she was 1 color, it would be a different story. Next, we go on to Berta, Wise Extrapolator from Quandrix.
The Zen Frog.
Yes.
For 2 mana, a green and a blue, you get a 1/4 Frog Druid with Increment, and whenever one or more 1/1 counters are put on Berta, add 1 mana of any color. For X mana and a tap, you create a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token and put X 1/1 counters on it.
And what does Increment do?
Whenever you cast a spell, if the amount of mana you spent is greater than this creature's power or toughness, put a 1/1 counter on this creature.
Okay, so
They grow.
This reminds me of the Evolve ability that we've seen from Simic in the past. However, Evolve cares about the power and toughness of a new creature entering. This cares about the mana you spent to cast a spell, so it does trigger off of instants and sorceries. That is the Quandrix mechanic from this set. It's Increment, and it's also caring about X. X instants and sorceries.
There's also
and they've always cared about fractals.
There's a recurring theme of the number 2, I swear.
I'm not seeing it, but maybe. You can decide for yourself if you feel like that is also something going on here. But and I like this version, although I think we need the reminder text on Increment for now because it is a brand new mechanic.
Yep, no one's going to memorize it right away.
Yeah, maybe you can memorize it if it's your own commander, of course, but
it's not going to be general knowledge for a while, if ever.
So here's the scary thing. You put a counter on her, you add a mana. Oh boy, that is a very dangerous line of text, I think. Now, the first thing that I thought of was Hardened Scales. Because Hardened Scales goes into a lot of +1/+1 counter decks. It costs just 1 mana, so it comes out on turn 1. However, this says if 1 or more counters will be put on a creature, that many +1 are put on it instead.
X +1!
And this says whenever 1 or more counters are put on Berta. So if more than 1 counter is put on Berta at a time, it still only triggers once and only gets you 1 mana. Hardened Scales doesn't get you another instance of a counter. It increases the current instance by 1. So it will not get you more mana from Berta. Neither will Doubling Season or most other cards like it. Instead, you would need to find something else, a triggered ability of some kind that puts a counter on your creatures. Or you could use the mutagen tokens from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Those will be separate instances. In fact, how about Mutagen Man? Hey, Mutagen Man. Activate abilities of artifact tokens you control cost 1 less to cast. Yeah. When he enters, you create X mutagens. And mutagens are artifacts where you can pay 1, tap it, sacrifice it, put a counter on a creature. So normally you'd have to pay 1, but with Mutagen Man you have to pay 0. And so you can just sacrifice the token, put a counter on Berta, get a mana back. So now mutagens are treasures. Because they produce mana and they get +1/+1 counters.
Oof.
I got a feeling that there's a lot of synergies like that out there, and I've heard rumors that there may be some infinite combos with her involving like spending 1 mana to make a token and then using the token to put a counter on her and then like back and forth forever.
If you're into that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. So I'm not really into that kind of thing very much. But I do like also that she has an outlet for all that mana of making a fractal, and the fractals are kind of cool. And even if I don't know the specifics, I think she's got high potential.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think Berta's a she, not 100%. Usually
Berta is short for Roberta.
Yes, and
Riberta?
Also Riberta. Also, in Latin-based languages, usually masculine names will end in O and feminine names will end in A. At least when they do end in O or A, that's usually a clue.
I think it's a safe bet.
Yeah. Okay, now we'll go on to Bletch, Loafing Pest. If you could introduce us.
For 1 mana, a black and a green, you get a 3/4 pest. Whenever you gain life, put a 1/1 counter on each pest, bat, insect, snick, and spider you control.
And the flavor text on that one?
Despite Blex's passing, Witherbloom students still continued the tradition of a yearly search in his honor. His son, however, took little effort to find.
Oh, we do have an alternate art here.
Oh, this is cuter.
However, in both cases, they've included a squirrel, but in neither case, this commander cares about pests, bats, insects, snakes, spiders. It does not care about squirrels, but there's a squirrel in the art.
And everything else is in there. There's bats.
Bat, I believe that's a centipede, so like a spider, an insect. There's
Spooter.
a spider. It is a pest.
I guess there
So-
was a plan for it to be. My conspiracy theory is that there was a plan for it to be squirrels, but then they changed it to snakes because balance reasons.
I think they were maybe looking at the card scrap. No, not scrapyard. Scavenging ground. What am I thinking of? No. Shoot. There's a card that I play in my insect deck. Insect, spider, land. Okay, they'll probably find it. Swarm Yard, which you'll note regenerates an insect, rat, spider, or squirrel.
Huh.
So this one cares about squirrels, but also cares about rats. And this is a card that is pretty old, originating in 2006 in Time Spiral.
Oh, yay, middle school.
This is kind of when I was playing Standard a lot, actually. So I think maybe Squirrel got snuck in because of that. However, we are missing Snake, but then we go to the alternate art, and there's a snake.
There's a snake.
But now I'm not sure about the insect, because these are spiders, not insects, and then
There's still
other
a squirrel.
stuff going on here, and there's still a squirrel, despite him not caring about squirrels.
I like the alt art better. It's cuter.
Okay, fair enough. Also, it references Blex, which you wonder which of the sets of creatures he cares about. Well, the same one that Black does. Pests, bats, insects, snakes, and spiders. No squirrels. But you'll notice spiders, insects.
No
well,
snick.
Yeah, I guess we're still not seeing snakes or bats in this one. And that's the only art that it ever got. Okay, but there's also the back of it where there's Search for Blex, where I don't know what's going on here exactly.
Tentacles, that's what's going on
Tentacles.
there.
Oh, harried by bats in the background. That's good. Well, so this was kind of supposed to be one of the like Witherbloom challenges, or like a yearly competition. You know how a lot of schools, especially if you have like a TV show that's set at a school, they'll have like a yearly competition where all these teams go out and try to do a challenge. The Search for Blex was the challenge, and Blex was actually a little sneaky. But I guess
Blech,
the new
not
Black,
so much. Not so much.
yeah, his son took little effort to find. He's lazy and fat. So, okay.
He's a cuddly boy, though.
Yeah. Now, he's a 3-mana 3/4, so well passes the vanilla test. And he cares about the main thing that Witherbloom cares about in this set, which is gaining life. Lots of cards in this set either gain you life or care about you gaining life. And he'll put a +1/+1 counter on himself. So,
And a bunch of other guys you might have.
yeah. But honestly, I don't think that he's that great. He lacks anything like trample or hexproof or, or a die trigger. Why? Blex is good in part because when he dies, he gains you 4 life. He's good in part because on the back, he's kind of a tutor. Like, you can draw a card off of him. Why can't you do any of those things with Blech? He can do far less.
I think that might be a flavor thing. This is
he
Blech.
he can do far less.
Yep.
Oh no. So it's just kind of sad to me that he doesn't have a way of gaining life built in, and he doesn't have a way of it's a kind of powerful effect, but these are all pretty weak tribes or kindreds creature types, I guess. So I think I got to put Blech in questionable. He could. I think if you love him, if you look at this and you're like, want to pinch them cheeks or something, you could probably build a pest deck because there are a few cards that say like pests you control have menace or something.
I'm thinking less pinching the cheeks and more just putting your hands on one going wobble, 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 wobble.
On his fat.
Yeah.
You got a fat tummy. Okay, if you love him, you can build around him. But
There's a way to make it work, but it would take some doing.
unfortunately, I want to love the pest commanders, but I don't. It's a shame. But we got to move on to Ennis, debate moderator, who has brought the banhammer.
Yeah, he has. For 1 mana and a white, you get a 1/1 human cleric. When Ennis enters, exile up to one other target creature you control. Return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. At the beginning of your end step, if one or more cards were put into exile this turn, put a 1/1 counter on Ennis.
Huh. Okay, so initially he just has an enter trigger. And I've said before that if your commander has just a single effect that it does, it better be pretty powerful. And that effect, not that powerful. But it does have the second effect there that is repeatable, where, yeah, if one or more cards were put into exile this turn, it doesn't have to be one of your cards, and it doesn't care how it was exiled or where it was exiled from. That would be pretty high potential, except the result is just a counter on your 1/1 who has no abilities. I do love that we got representation for disabilities again with someone in a wheelchair.
That's a snazzy wheelchair.
Yeah, and I don't want to get hit by that hammer. I got a feeling he doesn't really hit people with that hammer so much, but he could. And I see an owlin in the background raising their wing. Like, I know.
Cute.
And are people throwing like paper airplanes?
I think they're just kind of getting tossed around because, I mean, this thing says he's a debate moderator. And so I think what's happening is an open debate and he's in a position of power. Like, hey, keep it civil.
Oh, that's why he's got it. That's a gavel specifically.
Yes.
So he's supposed to like bang it on something, not a person.
Or
in order to
possibly
try
use
to-
some magic to cast silence on them or something.
Perhaps. So I think this is pretty weak. Are they better in the 99? Actually, no, because the payoff for its repeatable ability is just a counter on it, which is not very relevant. So sadly, I think I gotta put them down into lame.
Sorry, buddy, you're a cool character with cool art, but your effect is just not bringing the heat.
Yeah, what's interesting though is that I think he might be good in an Abigail deck for the other Abigail.
Oh,
The
I
one
can see
where
that.
she has an enter trigger, where she puts the counters on creatures. So this would help her trigger. Maybe anyway. He might be better in the 99, but once again, only having a. Actually, you know what? Is he better in the 99? I'm still leaning towards no. Although you could end up telling me that maybe he is the lowest mana cost for a creature that when it enters exiles one of yours. Maybe he is.
Which results in him getting a 2/2 by the end of the turn.
Yeah, he'll be a 2-mana 2/2 as long as he wasn't alone. As long as he has someone to moderate. I also just realized it's a little weird that he's a cleric, considering cleric usually has religious implications. And he seems more like a clerk, or he's doing clerical duties rather than being clergy.
I guess I wonder if there's an etymological overlap there. I bet
Probably.
that would be interesting.
Hey, I mean, back in the day, yeah, like as if it was when I was young, the only people who were literate were the clerics, the clergy.
That's right.
So
This is actually part of the roots of anti-Semitism. In Jewish culture, everybody has to be literate so that they can, or at least all of the guys have to be literate so that they can read and understand the word. So you have a literate culture living within a largely illiterate society.
yeah, it can lead to some awkward power imbalances and stuff. But we're going to move on here to Jadzi, Steward of Fate.
For 2 mana and a blue, you get a 2/4 human wizard. Jadzi enters prepared. And when she enters, you draw 2 cards and then discard 2 cards.
Her prepared spell
Is Oracle's Gift. For X mana, and a blue, you can create X 0 green and blue fractal creature tokens, then put X +1/+1 on each fractal you control. Oh, so this is a little bit like a Berta's ability.
Berta.
Hiccups.
Okay.
The Zen frog we looked at earlier.
Oh, yes, yes. It seems like maybe Jadzi would be good in a Berta deck. So Jadzi, I remember, was in the previous Strixhaven, and she was the one professor who seemed to not like to be indoors. She was like the most in tune with nature, despite being blue aligned and not green aligned. If I remember right, she was blue and green, so she's like Quandrix. But if I look up real quick the old Jadzi, yeah, Oracle of Arcavios. Wait, she looks older here than she does here. But maybe it's just because better posture, bad posture.
Good posture changes a lot,
Yeah. And,
including how confident you feel.
Journey to the Oracle. Yeah, so she likes to hang out around those things. Her back face is a green sorcery, so if she's your commander, you can play blue and green. But the new Jadzi is just blue. And I'm noticing her one foot is like very dark and her other foot is very pale. And I think that is intended to imply she's been holding this pose for a long time.
That looks uncomfortable.
I think it is. I think this is like a Zen thing for her.
But it also implies great balance and diligence.
Yes. So I think that is what we are seeing here. However, entering and drawing 2 cards and discarding 2 cards, I don't think is very exciting for your commander to do. And then you have to spend a whole bunch of mana to get some powerful fractals. And there's no way for her to become prepared again. Honestly, I don't like a lot of what's going on here as a commander. However, I think she might be good in the 99.
Agreed.
I think that if you have a deck where the commander is good and is like blue and green, maybe even Berta, maybe there's some others. She could be, drawing 2 cards, discarding 2 cards is a good effect to do like once. And then Oracle's Gift could be good to do, late game as a big, make huge fractals and stuff when you got tons of mana. But yeah, as a commander, I don't think that she's got what it takes, personally.
She might be okay with that. She strikes me as the sort to be like, yeah, I could be front and center, but I actually prefer to be out here.
Yep, I don't care. Kirill, he's another one, or they are another one of the first years that we saw on Lorwyn, on the little field trip there. And I believe, yes, they are non-binary.
Cool.
Kirill, history buff from Lorehold.
For a red and a white, you get a 2/3 vampire cleric. Whenever 1 or more cards leave your graveyard, Kirill becomes prepared. And for that preparation, you can pack a punch for 1 mana, a red and a white. And it's a sorcery where you can mill a card, put 2 1/1 counters on a target creature, and then it gains trample until end of turn.
So you see how much better this is than Abigail, just in terms of the pack-a-punch spell alone?
Yeah.
For 1 more mana than Abigail's ability, you put 2 +1/+1 counters, mill a card, which is part of what this deck is trying to do, set up, and give the creature trample until end of turn. And Kirill costs 1 less mana, starts off as the same size, a 2/3, and has one of the main mechanics of the Lorehold College, where when a card leaves your graveyard, they become prepared. And in Lorehold, cards should be leaving your graveyard all the time. So
repeatable preparation is a big part of why this works better too.
Yeah, I mean, Abigail and the other uncommon ones here can repeatedly become prepared, but this one synergizes much better with what Lorehold is doing in this set for less mana and for more of a punch once it's packed. So I think this is way better, unfortunately, than Abigail, who could have had one or two more effects like this on her 2 mana spell. So,
Well, Jodsy and Abigail don't have ways to be prepared other than entering, and Kirill
no,
does.
Abigail, when you cast a creature
Oh,
spell,
whoops, sorry.
she becomes prepared.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Jodsy, enter. That's it.
But casting a creature spell isn't like a theme of the Silver Quill. Targeting a creature with a spell is the theme. However, her second card does that. So if it was when you target a creature with a spell, then her own spell would like repeatedly prepare herself. So that's a little too easy. But still, she's got a lot of things wrong with her. Kirill has a lot of things right with them. How good do I think they are?
High potential?
Perhaps at the bottom of high potential. I'm still not sure that they're strong, but honestly, I think people tend to underrate sometimes commanders that come out that early and then have repeatable beneficial effects, in part because you can recast them easily if they do die once or twice. But also, people don't want to waste removal on them because you can get them out again, and because you spent so little mana on them, it's not worth, like, I don't know, a Mortify or something.
Now I just miss that. I wish I could work on that one Haunted Toys deck I had going a while back.
We can. We'll take another look at it sometime. And also, I think that, we may be able to do more with you and Commander later this year. We'll see.
I will have an income again one day.
Because, by the way, people, this is not making us any money.
Nope.
We are doing this for the love of the game, and, hopefully somebody else will watch these and enjoy them too. We get,
We're keeping this as a hobby for the meantime.
we get, a fair amount of views sometimes when we hit the timing just right. I hope that we hit the timing right on this one. We're going to get it out pretty quick.
This person is cute.
Yes. I forget if they are non-binary as well. They are also in the kind of first year class that did the trip. But okay, and I'm sure that they expect you to pronounce their name Lewin, exchange student. However, they have the iconic double L that you see most often in Welsh. And in Welsh, you would pronounce a double L ll. So it would be Llywelyn. Or Llywyn. That's what I mean to say. Llywyn. I don't think they intend for people to do it that way, though. But go ahead.
You can if you want, I guess. Anyway, for 2 mana, a black and a green, you get a 3/4 elf druid. Lewin enters prepared. Exile a creature card from your graveyard. Lewin becomes prepared. Activate only as a sorcery. And once you're prepared, you can cast Pest Friend for either a black or a green. And that creates a 1/1 black and green pest creature token with whenever this token attacks, you gain 1 life.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so previously, all the pest tokens have whenever they die, you gain 1 life. But I've seen some pests, including, I guess, this one, that whenever they attack, you gain 1 life. That is a really good effect for just 1 mana. And even though this one does enter prepared, it has a way to become prepared over again. So actually, why couldn't Abigail get that? Why couldn't Abigail enter prepared and then also have a way to become prepared again? This character is larger than Abigail. I mean, doesn't pass the vanilla test, but
But do they have to?
not necessarily. When the only cost to become prepared is to exile a creature card from your graveyard. And sure, that does mean that you have to find a creature card, you have to get it into your graveyard, and then exile it. It says that you can only do this at sorcery speed. True, okay, yes. But it doesn't say that you can do this only once per turn. So you could have like 4 creatures in your graveyard, exile 1 to prepare them. And actually, here's a question. Can you prepare a creature that is already prepared? I actually don't know for sure.
I would assume no. I would assume it's kind of a binary state.
While it's prepared, you may cast a copy of its spell. Doing so unprepares it. Okay. My guess is, based on the wording so far, I think you can prepare a creature that's already prepared, but it won't necessarily provide any additional benefits for you. So normally there wouldn't be a reason to do it. It's not like they have 3 preparedness or something.
Right.
It just puts them into the same state. Like untapping a creature that's already untapped doesn't necessarily do anything. However, in this case, I think you could potentially just exile all the creature cards in your graveyard if you wanted to, for 0 mana. There could be a benefit to that. But better off, though, I think you would be to exile a creature, prepare them, spend a mana, make a pest, exile a creature, prepare them, spend a mana, make a pest, over and over again. And that sounds pretty fun to me. Remember I was saying that I think pests are neat and I would love to build a pest deck, but the legendary pests that we've seen seem kind of shitty? I think this might be the good pest commander, strangely enough.
Does that make him exciting?
Yes. Yes, it does. I'm gonna put them all the way up in exciting. I think I'm gonna brainstorm building a pest deck based on this, because one of the things that most pests are creature tokens. Most of them gain you life. Most of them kind of want to die. And creature cards in your graveyard exiling to make more pests. Repeatable pest engine. I think that's what you want. And then black would be a bomb in the 99.
There you go.
And the one that we saw the other day, probably pretty good in the 99. So Hluin, not a great commander. Don't get me wrong, not great, but probably good.
Probably fun to play. Yeah, fun is the key thing here.
Now we get to our first Elder Dragon of the day. Oh no. Oh, okay, good. You'll not be able to edit your decks or modify your account. Fine, don't need to do that right now. I just need to be able to load these pages while we're recording here. That would have been terrible timing otherwise.
Oh my.
Okay, so Lorehold the Historian is so named because, being the Elder Dragon, they are the one who created the Lorehold College. And they are still alive today, although I don't know how active they are with the students. But why don't you go ahead and read what they do for us?
For 3 mana, a red and a white, you get a 5/5 Elder Dragon with flying and haste. Each instant and sorcery card in your hand has Miracle 2. And for those of you who don't remember, Miracle is when you may cast a card for its miracle cost when you draw it if it's the first card you drew this turn. Oh my. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, you may discard a card, and if you do, draw a card.
Okay, so beginning of each opponent's upkeep, you may discard and draw. So normally the miracle ability is pretty powerful to give to any random instant or sorcery in your deck. I mean, we saw that Nomad Outpost or whatever thing where you would normally pay 6 mana to make creature tokens, effectively doubling the number of creatures you have, and then it has rebound, so it happens again the next turn. Doing that for 6 mana is fair. Doing it for 2 mana, not fair. This could be a deck to play one of the biggest, dumbest bombs in all of Magic history. Stormherd. Stormherd. You heard me. Stormherd, why don't you read this for us?
Oh, I remember this one.
Yep.
For 8 mana and 2 white, you create X 1/1 white Pegasus creature tokens with flying, where X is your life total. I've played this one before.
Oh my. So this card is bad. It's awful.
I love it.
It's mostly awful because it's 10 mana.
It's a nightmare to cast, but it's glorious if you can pull it.
Now, if it were 2 colorless, 2 generic, instead of 10, and you're probably making, 30 plus Pegasi, that seems quite a bit better. Now, Miracle has this awkward thing where you have to like draw your card and then ideally keep that card separate from your hand for a second, like visually, so that your opponents know that you're not just like sneaking something into your hand and then sneaking back out the Miracle and going like, "Whoa, I drew this."
Don't play with stinky cheaters and don't be a stinky cheater.
Yeah, that's good advice. Neither stinky nor cheater is a good thing to be. But so ideally, I think the play here, rather than normally, if you have some miracle cards in your deck, you kind of like draw them and go like, huh, and you do a double take, and then you keep it separate from your hand, and you're like, and you have to think about whether or not you want to do it. And then even if you don't do it, your opponent's like, okay, well, obviously they just drew their like one miracle spell in their deck, you know. So you kind of you kind of tip your hand on accident with miracle cards in your deck a lot. But if practically every spell in your deck has Miracle, you can just do that kind of every time, and you don't have to worry about, accidentally revealing to your opponent that you drew a Miracle card, because you're going to pretend like you do it all the time. And those cards can be so powerful. You still need to have some good red and white ramps so that you can get up to Lorehold quickly. But then the craziest thing about this is that regardless of whether it's an instant or a sorcery, you can play it when you draw it. So on your own turn, that means that you can be casting a sorcery during your draw step. Probably not that big of a deal, but during your opponent's turns, you can cast sorceries if you miracled them off the top of your library.
Oh!
So that Storm Herd could be played on your opponent's turn.
Oh my god.
Yeah, you can't like do it during combat or anything. Plus, this says you may discard a card, so you don't have to do it. Also, you want to have top deck manipulation. The classic is Sensei's Divining Top. Yeah, so you can look at the top 3 cards of your library, rearrange them. That one's great. Also, Scroll Rack. So if you draw Storm Herd and that's a time where you can't miracle it, you can use Scroll Rack to put it back on top of your library.
Oh.
And then you can miracle it for just 2 generic mana.
Oh, this is scary.
And of course, you can do this during each of your opponent's turns. You could potentially miracle a spell on each player's turn, getting them for 2 mana instead of 10 or whatever. There are so many good examples of really powerful sorceries that you can cast. What was I thinking of? I was thinking of there's one that's like 8 mana and you steal all creatures until end of turn. And I can't remember the name of it for some reason right now. What about Decree of something? Decree of Annihilation? Oh no. No, don't do this. Exile all artifacts, creatures, and lands. And all cards from all graveyards and all cards from all hands.
Oh no.
Don't do that one.
No,
Don't
no,
do that
nope,
one.
Nope.
Don't do that one. What about this one? Oh, this is an X spell. You're not going to be able to get your X spells to work right, unfortunately. Okay, so neither of the decrees. Don't do that. But I mean, you can do your own advanced search for some of the biggest red and white sorceries, because sorceries do tend to be more powerful for the mana cost, and you don't need to worry about timing here. And one last little hidden one that you might want to, that you might miss, but you could play in this deck is, I think it's Brainstone. Yeah, Brainstone might not look very impressive to a lot of people, but you can draw 3 cards, then put 2 from your hand back on top of your library.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, so that will be one of the other very, very few cards outside of blue that will allow you to take one of those gigantic spells that you cannot cast from your hand and put it on top of your library. Brass's Bounty, I think, is the last one I'm going to show. Yeah, for each land you control, create a treasure.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's just, make a whole bunch of treasures. For 7, that's kind of reasonable. For 2, not so much. So I think Lorehold the Historian is, I'm tempted to put him all the way up in exciting. I think I'm going to, yes.
Yeah.
In fact, maybe to the top.
Woo!
The Elder Dragons in this set are nuts.
All right. Who's next?
Who's next? Micah, Reader of Ruins, who people have been saying, oh no, he's hot.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
I
What is...
normally don't like that haircut, but he rocks it.
Yeah, it's a combination of kind of a jock haircut, but also the glasses.
And it's also longer on top, and I like dudes with long hair.
And he's got muscles, but he also clearly reads, so...
Oh no, he's hot.
Yeah, well, what does he do?
Well, for 3 mana and a red, you get a 4/4 Human Artificer. With Ward, pay 3 life.
Ouch.
Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you may sacrifice an artifact. If you do, copy that spell, and you may choose new targets for the copy.
Okay, so... that seems strong. It's an uncommon, but honestly, I don't see that holding it back very much. He's a 4-mana 4/4, so we're passing the Nilla test.
Yep.
And he's got Ward, and he can copy your instants and sorceries. So the trick is you have to sacrifice artifacts. So if he's your commander, I think you want to have instants and sorceries that create artifacts. If only I could think of one.
The only ones I can think of are in blue.
This is one.
Oh.
This creates treasure tokens.
Oh.
Like 7 or more of them. And
Ooh,
then you
that's a
can
tricky
sacrifice
one
of them to do twice that many.
True, but Brass's Bounty has a high price tag.
Of course. I'm thinking that you'll find a series of red cards that make treasures, and then you'll sacrifice one, effectively paying a kicker cost of 1 mana in order to double it. So you would want to have 8 mana when you cast Brass's Bounty, and instead of making 7 or 8 treasures, you'll make 14 or 16 or something. And I think that's how you do it. You also do it with Big Score. Big Score, yes, you have to discard a card, but then you draw 2 cards and create 2 treasures, which are artifacts. And the additional cost does not have to be paid again when you copy the spell.
Oh.
So you only have to discard 1 card in order to draw 4 and make 4 treasures that will help you then pay for your next card that gets copied. Like Unexpected Windfall. Windfall. Which is exactly the same card, except for it's double red instead of single red. It makes 2 treasures and draws you 2 cards. So there's actually quite a few red cards that do something like this. Seize, Spoils. Oh, yeah, another one that makes a treasure, draws you cards, costs a little less.
All right, so it sounds like there's a
few.
There's a base to work from here.
Yeah, so try to find instants and sorceries that will make you artifact tokens. And I think that you're in a good position for them to kind of cycle over and over again. Being mono red does hold it back somewhat, but I think he might still have enough tools to be good. I think I need to put him in questionable though, because I think that if you do the searching around, you might find that there's only 8 or 9 spells that are really good in his deck, and if he had access to white or something, he'd be a lot better.
But if you look like this guy and you think he kind of matches your energy, then
please message us. I'll pass it on. Ame doesn't really do social media very much, so
it's overwhelming and stressful.
But you know what? You may find us on Blue Sky.
Yeah.
We're on Blue Sky posting about most of our videos, so hit us up if you look like this and you like our vibe. Anyway, if I'm once again actually a little bit torn here. Does he go in high potential? I think I'm still going to keep him out of there because I think it's still a little bit questionable how many things he'll have to copy.
Doesn't quite make the cut there, but...
Close.
But if you want to go to an Italian restaurant or something...
Oh, yeah. Or play a board game?
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh. Now then, we'll go on to Nita Forum Conciliator, which... they're wearing a lot of teal for someone who's ostensibly from Silverquill. But
true, but it's also got kind of a mystical lawyer chic going on, so I think it still fits the vibe.
I know nothing about this character, and they're hanging out alongside someone who has a weird hat that is black and red. I mean, what is going on here with the outfits and the color scheme?
It says diplomat. It says dignitary. It says somebody who probably would be unbearable at a party.
You know, one more flavor thing before I get into it. I know, and actually it would not otherwise come up in this video, Ral. Oh no, Ral, there's going to be a lot of cards that are not Ral that are going to come up here. Oh god. Okay, how far do I have to go? Come on, next. Where is it? I'm going to find Ral Zarek, the newest version of Ral from this set. Oh, I think I went too far.
Rally.
Yeah. Ral...
Opera, Planar,
There.
Psychic. Ral.
This guy. Hey, blue-red is it Storm Mage from Ravnica. Yeah, Ral. Do. You're kidding me. I'm sorry. I'm trying to find this new version of Ral. I don't know his name. There. This. What?
Who are you and what did you do with Ral?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I see in common here besides his vibe, his like energy, his hairstyle and stuff, is that his last ability says flip a bunch of coins, and a lot of previous versions of Ral do flip coins.
But I look at this guy and I say, what are you up to? You are not the person you were before, so you must be scheming something.
Yes, an evil twin or something like that, right?
I'm thinking less an evil twin and more, oh, I am absolutely a respectable and lawful guest lecturer. I'm totally not planning to fill the library up with party balloons and then raid the admin office.
Yeah, so in some of the videos leading up to this set release, they have mentioned the distinguished writer and like lecturer Raul Zarek, who everyone knows as a Silver Quill alumni, is visiting and being a guest lecturer. They played it up as if he hasn't been Is It all this time. And I think what's going on is that they are setting up a little bit for
They're setting up a plot twist.
There's a set that's coming out later this year that's in universe, so not Lord of the Rings and not Star Trek. But it's called Reality Fracture, and I think that this is a hint at that. That Ral is from an alternate present.
Oh, alternate Ral.
Yes. So I'm wondering, actually, if Nita is from an alternate present, where the schools of Strixhaven are like blue-green and black-red, other colors like this. And so they're visiting from an alternate Strixhaven, perhaps.
Perhaps.
All that said, what does she do?
Well, for 1 mana, a white and a black, you get a 2/3 human advisor. Whenever you cast a spell you don't own, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. For 2 mana, you can and sacrificing another creature, you exile a target instant or sorcery card from an opponent's graveyard. You may cast it this turn, and mana of any type can be spent to cast that spell. If that spell will be put into a graveyard, exile it instead, and you can only activate this as a sorcery. Darn.
Okay, so obviously there's a lot of text on here, but it's basically you can cast your opponent's spells from their graveyard. And in this set, there's a huge emphasis on instants and sorcery, so your opponents are going to be playing lots of them in draft, sealed, standard, pre-release, stuff like that. And everybody's going to have a few instants and sorceries regardless in these in Commander and everything. And we're, of course, only really considering these cards for Commander. Sacrificing another creature and paying 2 mana is not that big of a cost for a black-white deck, because what we're looking at here is some aristocrats.
Yep.
In multiple versions of the word. So let's see. Oh, actually, I'm just noticing here that is a Silver Quill sigil, but they're not wearing black and white like Silver Quill normally wears. So weird.
Huh.
Because you can see here, this is the traditional garb of Silver Quill. They're black, white, and gold. But here, they are black, teal, and gold. So, anyway, so like that's Rakdos or something? I don't know. Anyway, casting spells from your opponent's graveyard can be beneficial, but it's not a strategy. Okay? You don't know what your opponent's stuff is going to be doing. Best case scenario, it's like Cultivate, or it just draws you some cards or something. Or maybe it makes some creature tokens. I don't know. But when you cast a spell you don't own, you put +1/+1 counters on each creature you control, but her other ability has you sacrificing creatures. So, honestly, I think these abilities don't synergize particularly well. You don't cast the spell for free, so you have to pay not just the mana cost, but the mana cost +2 plus a creature. And the cards that you're casting this way don't necessarily synergize with each other because you're going to be looking at multiple opponents.
With different strategies and different cards put towards strategies that are not yours. So there's very little control.
I hesitate to say that this is lame per se, although I'm tempted. It's definitely questionable, and it'll stay at the bottom of questionable as we add more stuff here. Because I think a 3-mana 2/3 is not that bad. There are other ways of casting spells you don't own, making your creatures big. Someone could potentially build a decent deck with this, but I think it's kind of a bad idea.
Yeah, this doesn't strike me as clear strategy.
I could see somebody building a deck, I could see myself playing against it, and then whooping that person and trying to hold back from, like, saying, no, that commander actually... You know what? No, I've changed my mind. That commander sucks, actually. It's a bad idea. It's a trap.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not that bad, but, like, I think it's
kind
misleading.
of bad.
Yeah. Then we get on to, ooh,
Woo!
Orisa, Tide Choreographer from the
bet-
Prismari.
I bet she's into water sports.
Oh, no! I mean, she definitely is, but shit.
I'm sorry, the joke was right there. Someone had to say it.
We do always select that these videos are not for kids, even though we don't always curse. That they're not for kids, necessarily.
Anyway.
We're not children. We're not around children very much.
We just act like children with our sense of humor.
Yeah, a bit.
Anyway, aside from the everyone is 12 moment there, for 4 mana and a water and a blue.
Water energy for your Pokemon.
Sorry, got my wires crossed.
Yeah, it's fine.
You get a 2/2 Merfolk Bard. This spell costs 3 less to cast if creatures you control have total toughness 10 or greater. When Orisa enters, draw 2 cards.
Huh.
I kind of want to throw her straight into better in the 99.
Actually, I do too. She's an uncommon, so I think our expectations should be kind of low. They're not necessarily the best commanders. And I'll tell you what she reminds me of, and I think probably reminds a lot of people, because this is a card that comes up a lot. It's
Muldrifter!
Yeah. Muldrifter is kind of a fan favorite card from original Lorwyn. So back in, I want to say like 2007-ish. 5 mana 2/2 when it enters, draw 2 cards. Look at that. 5 mana 2/2 when it enters, draw 2 cards. However, you can pay 3 mana to evoke it if you're willing to just like let it enter and die. And for her, you can pay 2 mana to get her out and just have the card draw effect if you have a high total toughness. But how do you get that high total toughness in mono blue? I mean, there are ways, but then why is she your commander and not those other things? Like, okay, can I remember its name? Charix. Check this out.
Whoa!
Can you read Charix the Raging Isle for us?
Okay, for 2 mana and 2 blues, you get a 0/17 Leviathan Crab. Spells your opponents cast that target Charix cost 2 more to cast. And for 3 mana, Charix gets plus X minus X until end of turn, where X is the number of islands you control.
So if you want to build a mono blue Big Butts Matter deck, I think Charix is your guy.
The biggest butt in the 7 seas!
Oh yeah, I don't know if this is still the highest toughness ever printed on a non-silver bordered card, but it might be. And there's 2 arts, they're very similar.
Very cool though.
Yeah, I actually think I prefer the extended art one the most. Oh wait, there's a secret layer? Oh my god, it's Mr. Krabs.
Of course.
If you boys is wasting time, then you're wasting money, and that's just sick.
God, I hate managers like that.
Yeah. So Charix. Oh, right. This is from the era. This is one of the first sets that they did extended art in, and so they kind of just zoomed in. So you can see there's like this floating thing up here, and when you look at the extended art, it's not in there because they kind of just zoomed in.
Just whoop.
So for the first year, I want to say 2020, when they did extended arts, they actually end up cropping off a little bit of the top and bottom. But when they do extended arts these days, they actually commission art that is more is wider, and then they crop in for the normal version. So the extended arts are actually giving you a little something extra.
I like that. And I
Yeah.
like this character. I love her kelp hair design.
Yeah,
I'd have her in my deck. I just wouldn't have her be my commander.
absolutely not. I think she's a kind of terrible commander, but great in the 99 of Big Butts Matter that include blue. And unfortunately, like half of the Big Butts Matter decks do not include blue, but the ones that do, actually, strangely, she doesn't have a big butt. She's, I'm sure she has a nice, a wonderful butt, but not like Cherix. Woo! Look at the butt on that one. So you get the idea.
Some butts can will knock over your drink if they walk by. That one's gonna knock over not just the table, it's gonna knock over the whole bar.
Oh yeah, knocking over your village.
That is a badonkadonk.
Okay. So Arisa, a cool character, not a great Magic card. Prismari, oh god, one of the Elder Dragons again, and honestly, these are all like impactful. So why don't we see what Prismari the Inspiration does?
For 5 mana, a blue and a red, you get a 7/7 Elder Dragon with flying and ward, pay 5 life. Instant and sorcery spells you cast have Storm, and that means whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, copy it for each spell cast before it this turn. You may choose new targets for the copies. Cast a lot of spells. Cast 1, then cast 2, then cast 3, and then go bananas.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, there's a thing that Wizards R&D uses called the Storm Scale, and they report on it every once in a while. And the Storm Scale is how likely you are to see that mechanic return based on how problematic it was. So a 1 on a Storm Scale would be like Trample or Flying. You're going to see it all the time. A 2 might be something like Surveil, where you'll see it often. A 10 would be something like, I don't know, Banding, where
Nobody does banding anymore.
nobody does banding. It's way too complicated. Things like that. And it's called the Storm Scale because Storm was the first thing that they thought of that needed to go right to the top of that list. It wasn't a 10, I don't think. It was a 9. Since then, we've gotten Storm on a handful of new cards, but they are much more careful about it. They put it on like 1 card in a commander deck, or this. Now, when I say they've been careful with it, they've still put it on a 7-mana creature that in theory would have to survive a whole turn before you get to take advantage of it. But it does have ward pay 5 life. I think that in this situation, you want to pay the 5 life.
Yep, that's worth it.
It's worth it to kill this and not let your opponent get to use Prismari, because honestly, I think the only way to build this deck is the deck that will so they say storm off on the next turn and just win the game. And storming off usually involves things like Seething Song. Oh, right, Seething Song is now tucked in here. I actually really like this card. But Seething Song, 3 mana, instant, makes 5 mana.
Yep. Net 2.
Yep, or Jeska's Will, which, if you control your commander, you can do both of the effects, and one of the effects is add a red for each card in target opponent's hand. One of your opponents likely has more than 3 cards in hand.
So again, net 4.
Yeah,
Probably.
it might be 7 red off of that. And by the way, they are reprinting it in the Mystical Archive.
Ooh.
So you can find them in the same booster pack.
So pretty.
And the Japanese art on these is insane. The Japanese art for the Mystical Archives are amazing.
Oh yeah. That's the stuff.
I would love to have a whole video where we just look at all of these and gush over them, but I don't know that that's like content per se.
I think we
Maybe
could
you and I just like do that later. I don't know.
maybe I think it might we might be able to get 10 or 20 minutes out of that.
Per card?
Maybe not that
Okay.
much.
Regardless, this is the kind of thing people are going to be doing. So they're like, okay, I will cast Seething Song, get 5 mana. I'll cast Jeska's Will. I get 2 copies of Jeska's Will. Each of them will make me like maybe 7 mana.
And then you go,
And
oh
then,
no.
Mana Geyser. Mana Geyser makes a red for each tap land my opponent's control, which is often like 15. So I'll get 3 Mana Geysers. And then I'll spend it all on maybe a Crackle with Power.
Man, Prismari's looking scarier than Lorehold at this point.
Crackle with Power is XXX red red. But if you've got like 45 mana, I think you can make that X pretty big. And it deals 5 times X damage to each of up to X targets. So this would allow you to deal probably like 40 damage to all of your opponents. Oh, and they're reprinting that in the Mystical Archive, so you can find that in the same booster pack as Prismari as well.
Pretty.
Yep, and the Japanese one looks like that,
Oh my god, I love it.
right?
I want it on my wall.
Yeah, Ayami Nakashima. Okay, so, needless to say... and the blue part of it, of course, will help you with, like, drawing cards. It'll help you with counter spells, so that you can more easily prepare for the storming off turn, and of course also cover it with stuff like fierce guardianship, so if someone does try to kill Prismari and pay the 5 life, you can then counter their
Nuh-uh.
spell after they pay the 5 life. Haha. You can be playing Force of Will, Pact of Negation. Oh yeah, actually, last card I think I'll talk about is Pact. Oops, I should have said of Negation. Of Negation. No. Okay, whatever. I hit the close. Counter a spell for 0 mana. However, next turn you have to pay 5 or you die. Well, there isn't going to be a next turn.
No.
No. So I do love that most likely you're going to tap out to play Prismari, but you're going to keep like 2 or 3 counter spells in your hand, maybe a free 1 or 2. And yeah, they can pay the 5 life and you can counter their spell.
When Prismari's done cooking, everybody run.
Oh, also, we need to take a look at the alternate arts because they're awesome.
Dragon paint.
I love that the Elder Dragons in this set are hearkening back to the original Elder Dragons in their alternate art, because a lot of people are going to be familiar with, I'm sorry, I know what I said, but a lot of people are going to be familiar with Nicol
Good old
Bolas,
Nicol Bolas.
the character, and him looking something like this, or, oh, damn, or like that, or like that. Cool, right? The original printing of him, he's an old dragon guy
He's
who's
a dragon
sitting in a library
grandpa.
reading some books. Yeah, this guy is who they brought back as, this. And so this seems like the same vibe. These are some old dragons that are just chilling and doing their art.
Who needs fighting and war? There is art and history to be had.
And that's so much what the original Elder Dragon legends that were the inspiration for EDH, which later became Commander. That was their vibe.
What does EDH stand for? I've never figured that out.
Elder Dragon Highlander. So at the time,
Oh.
the original version of it, you could only play the Elder Dragons as your commanders. And Highlander was a format that already existed, where you could play just one copy of any card. From the Highlander movie series, there can be only one. That phrase. So yeah, Highlander was a format. Elder Dragons were a thing. So originally, you could only play one of these 5 Elder Dragons as your Highlander commander. Then they opened it up to other legendary creatures when Kamigawa came out. And that's when it started to become popular among other people.
Okay,
And in 2011, Wizards started making products for it specifically, but they didn't want to use the word Highlander and get into copyright issues with the movie series, so they called it Commander. And that's your history lesson.
I like it. Thank you.
Yeah. So, Prismari, I think in the end, I can't say anything other than like at least high potential. Do I want opponent being excited?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Oh.
Because storming off, I think is actually it can be a little boring in the sense that you came to do your deck's thing, and at a certain point, if the Prismari player gets to untap, the game's probably over, but it might be a
Okay.
15-minute turn from the Prismari player before it actually ends.
Got it. So it's a cool thing, but it may not be that fun of a game.
Yeah, and you're probably going to be asking your
Good
friends.
destination, slightly weaker journey.
You're going to be asking your friends like 2 or 3 times during that term, like, okay, so do we all scoop? And then one person's going to be like, no, I mean, he might not get us. He might not kill all 3 of us or something. We'll be like, oh, okay, I guess we'll keep playing it out. And then they'll draw like 17 more cards, and then they'll go, okay, I'll continue the combo. So for me, I'm never going to be that excited by those things. If this ends up being a thing in like bracket 4 or 5 even, then bracket 5 I would love to see Storm win. Just anything but Thassa's Oracle winning the game and I'm pleased. But at 7 mana, I'm kind of surprised if it'll get there. And in lower brackets, it's a little boring to see one person take a huge turn, especially if they start a combo that they don't know that if they can finish it by killing you. So, all that said, we got to move on. We're we're not in a hurry, but also I do tend to, this is my hyperfixation.
Oh, yes.
So next we look at Quandrix, the Proof.
All right. For 4 mana, a green and a blue, you get a 6/6 Elder Dragon with flying and trample. And Cascade. For those of you who don't know, when you cast this spell, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card that costs less. You may cast it without paying its mana cost. Put the exiled cards on the bottom in a random order. Basically, find a spell that costs less than this and cast that, so that's fun. Instant and sorcery spells you cast from your hand have Cascade.
Yeah, so that's very important that they put on there from your hand, because otherwise...
If it
the
was from your
spells-
deck, then just making it rain.
Yeah, exactly. You'd be able to cascade into a cascade into a cascade, which, by the way, you might already be able to do, because you're probably going to play some cards in your deck that themselves have cascade.
That's what you'll want to do, just to be annoying.
So, I'm going to struggle to remember the name. I think it has Apex. Yeah, this guy. Check out this guy.
Why does it have Cascade on it 4 times?
Because when you spend 10 mana on this 10/10, you get 4 free spells that cost less than 10 mana.
Jesus Christ. Yep, that's going in the deck.
I mean, probably. The thing is that these 2 cards actually don't really interact with each other. Because this cascades, and it gives your instants and sorceries cascade. And then this also cascades, but they don't interact. But you may find some blue and green cards that care about cascading, or casting a spell from somewhere other than your hand, or casting a spell without paying its mana cost, or you're casting them from exile, I believe. So all those things could be relevant. There are a few cards in this set that care about things like that.
Imagine putting this in a first sliver deck.
Oh my god. Yeah, because that one cascades and cascades into more cascades and stuff like that. I would recommend any deck where your commander has cascade to put in something that costs 0 mana. Or anything that gives cascade, put in something that costs 0 mana. Because my friend who played the first sliver, which looks like this... sliver spells you cast have cascade, so they cascade and cascade.
Bug Waterfall.
Oh yeah. They'll hit a 1-drop, and then technically they have to cascade through their entire deck for spells that cost less than 1, and lands don't count. So sometimes they would have to reveal their entire library and then just shuffle it without getting anything. And at first he put in cards like Spellbook, and I told him Spellbook is lame and boring. Don't run it. On the other hand, do run, let's see, I think it was Mox Tantalite? Yeah. This technically has a converted mana cost of 0. You cascade into this, and it will count as a 0, and then you cast it without having to suspend it. And it enters the battlefield, and you can tap it immediately for 1 mana of any color.
Much more useful.
Yes. I also recommended Ancestral Visions, I think is the card. Ancestral Vision. Another one that technically costs 0 when you're cascading, and target player draws 3 cards. Way better thing to get for 0 mana than you have no maximum hand size, which kind of doesn't do anything. So those are a couple of good cards to sneak in your deck in case you do end up cascading off of like a counterspell. But also, awkwardly, you kind of don't want to play counterspells in this deck, because if you cascade into something, then you'll have some spells that you won't have control over when you do them. So if you cascade into a counterspell, you'll be able to cast it for free at a time where you probably don't have a spell you want to counter. So avoid situational instance. You can probably play things like Reality Shift. Instances like this are probably okay because there's probably going to be a creature that you'd like to exile and give them a blank 2/2 for it. That's probably okay, but avoid things that you might normally play in a blue-green deck like Swan Song. Because you don't know that there's going to be an enchantment, instant, or sorcery spell to counter. So with that in mind, there's a lot of power here. Oh, and let's take a look at the alternate art. There they are, chilling in their study, learning things about math.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all of the new Elder Dragons have the alternate art that I think looks real cool of them chilling. I vastly prefer this.
That's an impossible tri-bar it's holding. First drawn by MC Escher.
Oh, good call. Quandrix love that shit.
I bet they do.
So let's see. But how good is this? Sometimes when you cascade, you're going to find something for like 5 mana that is great. And sometimes you're going to find something for 1 mana that is okay. Your deck needs to include both kinds of spells. You really can't get away with having a deck that's just powerful things to cascade into. You need ramp and dorks and interaction and things that cost 1 or 2 mana. So I think this one can be easily overrated. And also it's competing with some other commanders that have Cascade that are kind of better. Or Discover is another mechanic that's kind of better. Because Cascade, if you do reveal a spell you don't want to cast right now, it goes on the bottom with the other cards that you're not casting right now. But Discover, you put it in your hand and you get to keep it for later. So I think it compares poorly to Maelstrom Wanderer, which has Cascade, and creatures you control have haste, and is a 7/5 that cascades down from 8 and gives you access to 3 colors. This one's kind of better. There's a few others that I think might be kind of better. So this might go better in the 99.
Don't know if I'd go that far.
I think what I'm going to end up saying for this is the top of questionable. Okay. Because
it'll take some doing to make it work.
Free spells is always powerful, but you don't have any control over it. You can try to rearrange the top card of your library. Blue is actually quite good at that, but then it still has to be a spell that costs less than 6. I don't know. I'm sure you can do some good stuff, but it's not as open-ended as these others. So we go on to Sonar, Unfinished Genius, who was also on our field trip to Lorwyn.
All right, for a blue and a red, you get a 0/4 Goblin Sorcerer. Sonar enters prepared. For a tap, you create a treasure token. Activate only if you've cast an instant or sorcery this turn. And for 3 mana, a blue and a red, you get Wild Idea. Search your library for an instant or sorcery card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle.
Okay, so blue-red I think is a good color combination for this kind of effect. And I like a commander that tutors. I don't like tutors normally, but I like a commander that tutors because you could potentially play Secret Commander. In this deck, you can have a secret commander that is an instant or sorcery in your deck. So it looks like Sonar is your commander, but your commander might actually be, I don't know. Let's say, how about if a spell has epic and it is blue or red? Maybe Eternal Dominion is your secret commander. For 7 blue, 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 it's a sorcery where you search target opponent's library for an artifact, creature, enchantment, or land, put it onto the battlefield under your control, and then shuffle. And for the rest of the game, you can't cast spells. But at the beginning of each of your upkeeps, you copy this spell, and you can choose new targets for it. So, is this a good idea? Probably not. But
Is it an interesting idea?
it's the kind of thing that you could be doing, okay? Maybe that Brass's Bounty is the thing that you get every time. You just make a bunch of treasures. Or maybe, what's the red one do? Undying Flames? Exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card. Undying Flames deals damage to any target equal to that card's mana value. And once again, the epic means that you do it every turn, but you can't cast any other spells. So this is another one that could be powerful. In fact, the crazy thing is, Sonar, right, comes out on turn 2. You can guarantee every hand that you draw can get this out on turn 2 every game, right? 100%. And then it enters prepared, so 100% of the time. All you have to do is get to 5 mana, and the rest of what is in your deck doesn't really matter. You can play Undying Flames, and this deals damage equal to the card's mana value. You can then fill your deck with the highest mana value spells in the history of Magic.
Oh, that is such bullshit.
Just so that you can reveal, like, Draco? Yeah, reveal, like, Draco, which I believe is still the highest mana value in Magic. 16. And just do 16 damage to any target. So you could build a deck that otherwise wouldn't function, except that your commander is a tutor for a sorcery that does this weirdo combo. And then you're just playing a totally different game from everybody else, because you're just revealing and finding random spells that do big damage to something.
This little guy is gonna make people mad.
Now, I don't actually think that these two cards are very good, actually. Because you'll also be drawing cards and having mana and not having anything to do with it, possibly. But there's a new take on this that they've done in this set called Paradigm, which you'll see is very similar. 7 mana, these are lessons. You exile from the top of your library until you exile cards with total mana value 4 or greater. You can cast them without paying their mana cost.
Uh-oh.
And Paradigm, so you then exile this spell, and basically you can copy it at the beginning of your first main phase every turn from the rest of the game. So I think this is an excellent target for Sonar to go get out of your deck, and now you're playing this game. You're playing the exile cards until you hit 4 more mana value and cast it for free every turn. Game. And that seems like a lot of fun. Or Echo Casting Symposium. Target player creates a token that's a copy of target creature you control. So you could just make more and more of whatever you've got. Hell, you could make a copy of Sonar, and even though it's legendary, you can sacrifice the original Sonar. The new Sonar enters prepared.
Oh.
Also, you can possibly create extra treasures off of each of them. Like you might have played something like a Ponder, and then tap it to make a treasure, and then do the echo casting thing and get the new one, and then tap that one to make a treasure. I don't know. Tapping to make a treasure is also quite good. So I think that there's a lot of potential here. And so I'm going to put it in high potential probably around here. You just want to... I think that the way to do it is kind of what I'm talking about, though. You play some big instant or sorcery in your deck that does something wild. The paradigms are some of the best because they'll happen repeatedly. Because otherwise, I mean, he does just make a treasure every turn for you, and that's okay. But, yeah. Very cool, actually. We now go on to our 4th, I think, Elder Dragon of the day.
Our final Elder Dragon.
Oh, it's our 5th? I don't know. I thought we had one more, but
Oh, right.
Yeah, we do. We have
Witherbloom.
Witherbloom. Okay. So Silverquill the Disputant.
For 2 mana, a white and a black, you get a 4/4 Elder Dragon with flying and vigilance. Each instant and sorcery you cast has casualty 1, and that means, as you cast that spell, you may sacrifice a creature with power 1 or greater. When you do, copy the spell, and you may choose new targets for the copy.
So this card's a little weird because we may have to have errata on this card very soon, or we're not clear if this is what's intended. When it says each instant or sorcery spell you cast has casualty, there's a very specific rules kind of snafu that comes up, where if you cast a spell like, say, go for the throat. This is a solid spell a lot of people play. 2 mana, just destroy a non-artifact creature. Okay, maybe you want to destroy 2 non-artifact creatures. What if you sacrifice Silverquill as the casualty? Do you get a copy or not? I think that it's intended that you probably can do that. Although, I would love it if it said, like, Silverquill himself cannot be sacrificed or something on that, you know? Because it's a little strange for him to sacrifice himself. But I think it's supposed to probably allow you to do that, but it doesn't. Because when he dies during the casting of a spell, that spell actually loses casualty while it's on the stack. And then does not get copied, even though you sacrificed a creature to copy it. That is a weird rule snafu where this is applying constantly, including during the steps of casting a spell. And so if he leaves the battlefield before the spell is done being cast, it doesn't have casualty 1 anymore. So
I guess don't sacrifice yourself.
yeah, so they also, I kind of love this art, even though it's not like that crazy cool of an art, but I just love the, like, Professor Dragon.
Yeah. I want this dragon for my professor.
Absolutely. He's got the proper Elder Dragon, vibe to him.
This is a guy who hangs out in his study, looks out the window sometimes, and does a lot of writing, and I like that.
And he's got big old windows so that he can always go out flying if he wants to. Easy access to the outside. He's got his own doors and windows. But in any case, okay, aside from the weird rule snafu that currently if you sacrifice him, the casualty doesn't work, Black-White has access to a lot of creatures that will want to die, and that you can easily sacrifice to copy things, and that can be very powerful. We've already actually talked about a number of white sorceries that can be powerful to double. What about some black sorceries? How about Breach? Is that how you spell Breach? The multiverse?
I think so. Oh, wait, no, it has an A in it.
Has an A? Okay. I could swear that Breach in that spelling is also a word. Can you read this one for me?
Okay. For 5 mana and 2 black, that's a 5 mana, 2 black sorcery. Mm-hmm. Each player mills 10 cards. For each player, choose a creature or planeswalker card in that player's graveyard. Put those cards onto the battlefield under your control. Then each creature you control becomes a Phyrexian in addition to its other types.
Okay, so this would be a good black spell to copy with casualty.
That is a beautiful bit of art, too. I love how weird and scary it is.
Yes. And it's implied that at the center here is 2 things. It is the world tree that Phyrexia made. It's like the seed something or other, as well as the Realm Breaker sword. That they got both of those things from Kaldheim.
Whoo!
So, yeah, they are breaking the multiverse. This is what allowed them to do a multiversal invasion. And sure enough, if everyone mills 10, then you steal a creature from everyone's graveyard, including your own. And then you do it again. You effectively mill everyone 20 cards and reanimate 8 creatures. Off of sacrificing like a pest token or something.
Professor Dragon is writing some cosmic horror here.
Absolutely. Or you could do something as simple as Siphon Mind. This one's kind of a classic that doesn't see a lot of play these days. Everyone else discards a card, you draw that many cards. Normally it's everyone else discards one, you draw three. With Silver Quill, it could be everyone else discards two and you draw six. There's a lot of spells like this that you can do. Just keep in mind the non-bows, the ones that if you copy them don't do anything different, like Damnation, where you can, Damnation just destroys all creatures. But you could do Toxic Deluge. Toxic Deluge is a very powerful, very commonly seen board wipe. However, you could pay like one life into it and give all creatures -1/-1 until end of turn, and then sacrifice a creature so that it becomes two.
All right, so Professor Dragon gives us he gives us something fairly simple, but that opens up a world of possibilities, like a blank page.
And it comes out way earlier than the other ones, while still having way surpassed the vanilla test, being a 4/4 with flying and vigilance and this. I think Silver Quill actually goes all the way up and excited.
Awesome.
And even the creatures that you sacrifice to the casualty thing, being casualty one, they only have to have one or more power. Almost every creature counts for that. Heck, like sacrificing in some colors is a cost. In black, it isn't necessarily. You could play freaking Memnite that costs literal 0 and is a 1/1. You could play creatures that when they die, they give you mana or life or something. This is not a cost. All of your instants and sorceries are just doubled for the rest of the game, okay? So this is sick. I love it. Still do the Call of the Coppercoats and all that too. So,
all right, who's next?
We now go on to, I think, the last of our field trip first years, Tam Observant Sequencer.
All right. For 2 mana, a green and a blue, you get a 4/3 Gorgon Wizard with Landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, Tam becomes prepared. Okay, that's great. And the spell we're preparing here is Deep Sight. For a green and a blue, you draw a card and gain a life.
Boring.
Very.
Okay, because look, we've been playing blue-green play lands, draw cards forever. I mean, the poster child for it's probably Tatyova Benthic Druid. Is a 5 mana 3/3 uncommon. Whenever you play a land, you gain a life and draw a card. Well, wouldn't you know it? You play a land, they become prepared, and then you can draw a card and gain a life. 4 mana to get out, 2 every time that you do the thing. Tatyova is kind of the same thing, but they have 1 more power, and they're a Gorgon, and they're a Merfolk. By the way, a lot more Merfolk synergies in blue-green than there are Gorgon synergies, though there are more wizard synergies. This card's also like a dime, and it's been printed since Dominaria back in 2018. We've seen this reprinted over and over and over again. This is the most milquetoast, middle of the line, but still actually very good blue-green commander, and Tam is just another take on it, and that makes it, I mean, it makes
boring but useful.
It makes it lame to me, but like not bad. You know what? I'm going to punish Tam and put her in lame just because she's boring. You could probably otherwise put her up in like questionable alongside Quandrix, maybe even in high potential, because she's nearly Tatyova. She's kind of Tatyova, but she's just so boring.
Tatyova with extra steps.
Yeah.
So not gameplay lame, but conceptually kind of lame.
Yeah, like they enter the battlefield a turn earlier. You can prepare her, and then the next turn do the thing. But they're so similar. It's really uninspired. I'm not giving any credit here. Sorry, Tam. You're getting a D in this class.
Next
Okay.
time, don't copy somebody else's homework.
Try harder. Also, Tam. Oh God, this is not going to work. Tam, comma space. Oh boy. Tam from when they were on the field trip. Close. Tamio. Tam. Okay. What they do here? Each other creature you control has hexproof from each of its colors, and then tap target creature you control becomes all colors until end of turn, effectively giving one of your creatures hexproof from all colors. This is, I don't know
Honestly,
if it's strong, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
A 2-mana 2/2 is always a good start, and then I wish that she said like each creature, not each other creature, but whatever. This is interesting. This is kind of cool. If you like Tam as a character, play this. Don't play this one. It's super boring. Then we go on to the Dawning Archaic, which is
A
the
kaiju.
Eldrazi we have at home. As in literally.
Oh my lord, look at that mana cost. That is 10 mana for a 7/7.
That's kind of Eldrazi territory. But hey, what do they do?
This spell costs 1 less to cast for each instant and sorcery in your graveyard. This guy's got reach, and whenever the Dawning Archaic attacks, you may cast target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. If that spell would be put into your graveyard, you exile it instead.
Wow, and they're 7/7 for 10, but if you've got a graveyard full of instants and sorceries, it could cost as little as 0. Wow, that sounds very powerful.
Thing is that this would be limiting us to colorless instants and
Yes.
sorceries, which I think makes it a lot trickier.
It absolutely is. Remember how I've been talking in most of these videos about how playing a single color limits you quite a bit?
Yeah?
Playing no colors limits you even more.
Yeah.
And you don't even get to cast instants and artifacts. Or creatures. I mean, you can play them in the 99, but the deck wants you to play instants and sorceries. There are 26 of them ever.
Ooh, no.
And are any of these good? I mean, yeah, some of them are good. All is Dust is really good, except it costs 7. Wandering Archaic, that's not the one. Explore the Vastlands is all right. Null Elemental Blast is very specific. Eldritch Immunity is pretty good. Warping Whale is okay. Rise of the Eldrazi is crazy good, but costs like 12. So you've got some really questionable stuff in here, and it only goes downhill from there.
So
to
at
fill
best,
your
this
deck
is
with them?
at best this would be a questionable commander.
Yeah, honestly, I think that is, well, okay. Better in the 99?
That I
Okay,
think.
it's
Yeah,
100% better in the
Oh, yeah.
99. Because if you're playing a deck that is like red-blue Spellslinger or I don't know, black-blue or something, if you're filling your graveyard with instants and sorceries all the time, dropping this big Mamma Jamma and then casting some free stuff would be sick. So I think he's actually pretty crazy good in the 99 of a Spellslinger deck, especially if you've got one where you can give it haste. With a Lightning Greaves or with a, am I thinking correctly of, is it Crimson Wisps? Yeah, Crimson Wisps is an instant for 1 red. Target creature becomes red and gains haste until end of turn, draw a card. Yeah, so you can get Dawning Archaic out for very little mana, and then you cast Crimson Wisps on him, so you draw a card and he gains haste and you attack, and then you cast something else for free. That all sounds cool. I would play him in specifically red Spellslinger decks. But he's a terrible commander. Terrible commander. Don't do it. All right. And, and they have a very similar origin, a lot of us think, to Eldrazi, but they are not Eldrazi. They are native to the plane of Arcavios, not the Blind Eternities. So I don't know what to think about them. Now we get to Witherbloom the Balancer.
The final dragon for real this time.
Yes, the final Elder Dragon, anyway.
All right, for 6 mana, a black and a green, you get a 5/5 Elder Dragon with an affinity for creatures, which means it costs 1 less to cast for each creature you control. It has flying and death touch, and instant and sorcery spells you cast have affinity for creatures. Okay, wow.
So a lot of the other cards that we've seen, a lot of the other Elder Dragons will make your spells better. This one makes your spells cheaper, which is similar because a lot of spells are very good already, just that they cost so much. And 8 mana for your commander, that sounds like it should cost a lot, but of course that affinity for creatures. If you're playing a deck like this,
That's going to help you cheat the mana tax.
Absolutely. You're playing Llanowar Elves. 1 mana, 1/1 taps for 1, the classic. And you're playing Birds of Paradise, and you're playing the few other cards that are just like Llanowar Elves. And you're getting to Witherbloom at least 2, maybe 3 turns early on average. Okay? And then you have some instants and sorcery spells in your deck. And yes, if you have, say, 8 creatures on the battlefield, and Witherbloom has died and you go to recast it, it will reduce the tax to 0 as well. So as long as you can keep creatures building up, you just want to be able to protect them. So normally people do play Heroic Intervention in green creature decks, where you give all of your permanents hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. And that's great in large part because it's an instant for 2. But I bet if you dig through green and black, you'll find some instants that cost more mana and do crazier things that you can cast for next to nothing because of this. Hell, you saw some of those colorless spells. If any of those are worth playing in your deck, they could be free. Maybe.
I like this dragon. He looks super chill. Like this dragon looks less chill.
So, Witherbloom outside hanging with all the wildlife.
Maybe smoking some dope.
Witherbloom inside trying
Super
to figure
villain.
out, like, what's with all these colors of mana? I only care about green and black all this time. But, I mean, he's got Death Touch, so he kills things when he touches them. Also, it would be good to have instants and sorceries that make creatures or reanimate them. Remember that Breach the Multiverse?
Oh, yeah.
That costs 7, but gets you 4 creatures probably.
Witherbloom will get you a discount.
Instead of... Silver Quill will get you 2 Breaches of the Multiverse. He will get you a Breach the Multiverse for 2 mana. So that's the difference. And I think both of those are pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, they are.
Mm-hmm. And this lends itself to a pretty good strategy. You will probably be playing some of the kind of plain Jane mana dorks out there, but you're going to play a dozen or so really wild things that other people aren't playing. And that sounds like fun. In fact, I had one other idea. Is this a time for Beacon of Creation? Maybe. Well, each forest you control. I mean, I guess you can play that, what is it? Yavimaya Cradle. Yeah, you can play this so all your lands are forests. You might play that anyway. And then Beacon of Creation makes you an insect for each forest you control and then shuffles back into your deck. And it's 4 mana, but in this deck it's probably going to be 1.
Yep.
So even if all of your lands aren't forests, as long as you've got a bunch of forests in your deck, you can create a few insects, then shuffle it away, and if you find that other one, all your lands are forests, and that's pretty good. Beacon of Creation, I've been wanting to see play for a long time. And of course, Beacon of Unrest is another really good one to have the mana cost go, get rid of all the colorless, because you can get a creature or artifact from any graveyard onto the battlefield, and then shuffle this away and do it again later.
All right.
So I think Witherbloom, it's okay.
High potential?
It's at least high potential. Is it going in excited? I think I personally am not going to build this one. I'd rather go for the pests, but it's right on the fence. It's very good.
Okay, and we're down to the final one.
Kind of. I'll show you in a second. Zephi and the Tempests.
Now that's a band.
Hell yeah.
We've got a lute, we've got an accordion, we've got, I think that's a big...
theremin?
And a big panpipe.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
What would that sound like?
Crazy. Leave everything on the stage and give them a performance they'll never forget.
Yeah.
So what do they do?
Well, for 5 mana, a blue and a red, you get a 5/7 human bard sorcerer. Once during each of your turns, you may cast an instant or sorcery from your hand without paying its cost.
So,
All right.
I think I mentioned in the other video that the theme of Prismari in this set is to cast the biggest spell anyone's ever seen. And this is a good way of doing it. You just don't have to pay the mana cost. Now, it costs 7 to get them out, but I've already shown you in this video stuff that makes treasures and stuff that makes extra mana, from Seething Song to Jessica's Will, all that stuff, so you can get to Zephyr and the Tempest faster, plus play some mana rock, stuff like that. Do all of that to set up. But what do you do with all this mana? Well, let's see. How about Expropriate? Expropriate is a 9 mana spell that you can now cast for 0. Where starting with you, everyone votes for time or money. For every time vote, you take an extra turn. For every money vote, you steal a permanent from that person. So usually when you cast this, you will choose time, all of your opponents will choose money, you will steal 3 permanents and take an extra turn.
Whew.
And I think that what's kind of unfortunate here is that perhaps the most powerful things to do with Zephyr is to just take extra turns. And odds are, during each of your turns, once you can cast a spell without paying its mana cost. Well, if that spell says take an extra turn, then you'll pass the turn to yourself, and then you'll get to keep going. And you'll get to do more and more of this stuff, like Time Stretch.
Tim
Stretch.
I like this artwork.
Oh, yeah. And what does it do?
I swear I just wanted a few extra hours to do my homework. Target player takes 2 extra turns after this one.
Oh, 2 extra turns. Luckily, Zephyr and the Tempests are limited in how many spells you can cast for free, only 1 per turn. Except now we have more turns. So, I think that when you resolve Zephyr and the Tempest, if you untap with it, and maybe even if you don't, you win the game. If you're playing Bracket 4, I think that this is fine. I don't love it, but it's kind of what Bracket 4 is for. And if you're playing this at lower brackets, please do not play extra turn spells. Everyone will hate you.
Yeah.
Because you'll get to do exactly what I was talking about before. Taking the one big, long turn that apparently Prismari is really well equipped to do, that no one knows if it's going to kill everybody, but it probably will.
Remember, try to build generally you want to build the kind of deck you wouldn't mind losing to. And people probably would mind losing to multiple long turns.
Yeah. And once again, there's a red sorcery that people used to play a lot, and I cannot remember the name of for whatever reason. But it's like 8 mana, steal all creatures, untap them, give them haste, and then give them back at the end of the turn. You can do that and possibly win the game. There's a lot of things like that. Just, if you're going to do this, please have a plan to actually win the game. But honestly, I think the optimal thing to do with this is just to have, 15 cards that take an extra turn and just cast one into another, into another, into another. Hell, you can possibly just bash with a 5/7, and a lot of people will just die to that eventually. So, where am I going to put this?
Good question.
I'm going to put this at the top of questionable.
Yeah.
In part because I do think it's good, but I don't think I want to see it, actually, because I think the optimal thing to do with it is the most lame thing to do with it.
Yeah.
Now, I said before that, that actually this might not be the last one, because, let's see, I searched for legendary creatures that are in this set, but I heard that there's another one. Yeah.
Where?
Okay. This guy.
Hello.
Page Loose Leaf. Was not on Scryfall, even though it said that the set was done, or it wasn't showing up in searches properly, but now it does. So, Page Loose Leaf, what do they do?
Well, for 2 mana, you get a 0/2 construct with tap, add colorless, and an ability called Grandeur. Discard another card named Page Loose Leaf. Reveal cards from top of library until you reveal an instant or sorcery. Put that card into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Okay, so this is not going to work in Commander.
Not really, no, because you normally can't have more than one copy of your commander in your deck. I mean, there are blue cards that allow you to copy creatures, of course. So you could do it in blue, kind of, maybe. But to do it in colorless... so this card is made for draft or sealed.
Yes.
If you draft 3-ish of this card, it's kind of good. But only in draft or sealed. Do not try to make this your commander in Commander. This is intentionally bad at that. If you're doing this, you are basically doing a challenge commander deck akin to, like, Phage. Oh no, not this again. Phage the Untouchable. In fact, can you read this one for me?
Let's see. For 3 mana and 4 black, you get a 4/4 avatar minion. When Phage the Untouchable enters the battlefield, if you didn't cast it from your hand, you lose the game.
Yeah, it has other things on it too, but if it starts in the command zone, you're
not going to get it to your hand.
If you cast it from the command zone, you die? Now, of course, when she deals combat damage to a creature, destroy that creature can be regenerated. That's basically an old school death touch. And when she deals combat damage to a player, that player loses the game.
But if she's your commander, it's a brick. It's a non-starter.
Right. So it's what some people call a challenge commander. People have found a few ways around it.
What's the challenge? Play commander but don't have a commander?
Torpor Orb.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, that's a workaround, but you'd have to be able to you'd have to have multiple ways to get that thing into your hand stat.
There's like 3 cards that you can play in mono black that will stop you from losing the game to her. And there's like 3 more that will, in response to you losing the game, you give her to somebody else in a way that they lose the game.
Oh.
And then their ability resolves first. So it's a very difficult commander to build. You're probably going to be mulliganing a lot. It's a kind of challenge commander, but this one has the payoff of you can just straight up kill people. Page, the payoff is that you get a tap for a colorless, and you can go find an instant or sorcery. So, Page is not in my list here because it wasn't on the website earlier, but it is now. But don't play it as your commander. Is it better in the 99? I mean, maybe.
But not by a ton.
I would put it in that. It is better in the 99. Oh no, we have more than one.
Oh no.
Oh no, I am so sorry. So I'm just gonna have to describe for you, I guess, because I'm not gonna during this recording. And Emil, okay.
Oh dear.
This is the first time then that we've actually jumped the gun a little bit. There are 2 others.
Yep.
Yeah, there are 2 others that weren't in here before. I gotta rank them, but I'm not gonna be able to put them in the chart.
Just pretend for now.
Okay, so Emil, Vastlands Roamer. Why don't you describe them?
For 2 mana and a green, you get a 3/3 Elf Druid. Creatures you control with +1/+1 counters on them also have trample. For 4 mana, a green, and a tap, you create a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token. Put X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the number of differently named lands you control.
I mean, I'm just going to straight up say this is better in the 99.
Agreed.
There are a lot of decks and commanders that care about creatures with counters on them, and you basically don't want to be playing monocolor for that. It's an uncommon. It was never intended to be that good of a commander. Put it in the 99 of your blue-green or your white-green decks.
Plus, you're more likely to get names with lands with different names.
Oh yeah, because in a mono-green deck, how many forests do you think you should be playing? Probably quite a few. But if you're playing 2 or maybe even 3 colors, like you could drop this into your Titus deck. I'm going to drop this into my Marcus deck. You could play this in the deck with the frog lady from before. You know, anything. If you've got 2 or 3 colors, it's a lot more likely that you're going to have more basic lands of different kinds and stuff like that. And 5 mana and tap to make a fractal that has like, 5 counters on it or something is fine, but if you're playing mono green, that's where it's at its worst. Giving all of your creatures with counters on them trample is really good, considering I've built these +1/+1 counter decks.
I have a
and you
deck
really
that does
need
something
those.
like that.
Yeah, and you really need those creatures to have like evasion, and trample is like the green version of evasion. You do got to be bigger, but then you can get past them. But this set introduced at least 2 other cards that already do this, in addition to the 5 or so that already exist. So I'm putting Emil in better in the 99. It's pretty clear that's where it belongs. He probably belongs. Then we go on to Moseo
Moseo.
Vane's New Dean. And
I don't know who this is, but I like them already.
they look super cool. Okay, can you read them to us?
For 2 mana and a black, you get a 2/1 bird skeleton warlock with flying. When Moseo enters, create a 1/1 black and green pest creature token with, whenever this token attacks, you gain 1 life. And they've got infusion. At the beginning of your end step, if you gained life this turn, return up to 1 target creature with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, where X is the amount of life you gained this turn.
That seems super cool, I gotta tell you. So infusion is once again the kind of wither bloom mechanic of this set, because it cares about you gaining life, and this version of it cares about how much you gain in order to reanimate creatures. I love also that it makes a pest so that it has a way for you to trigger the life gain built in. It's got flying, so it doesn't necessarily matter that it's a 2/1 for 3, because you can hit your opponents for 2 fairly reliably. You can chump block against a giant dragon if you absolutely need to. I mean, there's just a lot of good things going on here. It's got all the pieces. And then, yeah, when you gain some life, you can put in a lot more ways of gaining life here in order to reanimate some big things. But even reanimating a small thing every turn is often going to be good enough. You could have a creature that like sacrifices to gain you some life, and then you bring it back. There are probably black cards that do that. I'm not thinking of one off the top of my head, but there probably are. So we are held back a little bit by the fact that it is mono black. But I think that we're in the same kind of realm as those commanders that we saw earlier of like Arin and Marin of Clan Meltoth and Shirei. So do you put Arnin in a Moseo deck or Moseo in an Arin deck? I think Arnin has the clearer path to victory, where you make your opponents lose life and you gain life along the way. Doing that repeatedly allows you to be really kind of a slacker on defensive plays, because you can just take hits and just focus on being proactive, just building up, a more and more powerful way of killing your opponents, because you're gaining all this life as a buffer zone. This deck, your life total is going down a lot, potentially. Reanimating your creatures is good. I think this probably goes in the 99 of the other one from where I'm sitting. I would rather have the reliable way of making my opponents lose rather than the reliable way of making me get stuff back.
So it sounds like the 3 extra commanders that caught us by surprise are all better in the 99.
I guess so. Yeah. Okay. So sorry, people. Moseo, though, I think is still pretty good. Especially out of the 3 of them. If this is your commander, you don't have to be embarrassed about it. Whereas if this is your commander, you do. And if this is your commander, you kind of do. This is still a good commander. I just think that it is slightly better as a supporting role to one of the other ones we talked about. So I think that actually finally allows us to wrap up our Secrets of Strixhaven commander review and ranking tier list.
Looks like we mostly got high potentials, and adding in the secret ones, it means we've got an equal amount of better in the 99 and high potential.
So I think that we've got maybe the most even spread that
Yeah.
we've seen here. There are some that are lame, and there are some that are high potential. And if you consider also that excited is basically high potential, but also like
But
high
with a little
potential
extra.
plus, because I personally am hype about them. And I think that they not only are good, but also bring you into some interesting deck building territory. Then really we've got a lot of high potential. And of course, every set that is designed for standard and draft and stuff like that is going to have some uncommons that are not even intended to be that good as commanders. And most of those did end up in the lame territory where they belong. A few stood out and got a little higher. So this is about what you'd expect compared to the last video where we got none in lame, because they were all designed for commander.
Yeah, they're basically the tip of the spear, so to
Yeah.
speak.
So I think this set is overall pretty cool. Anytime that we've got some things showing up in excited, like that's a good set as far as I'm concerned.
And I'm just excited anyway. I'm also excited for us to sign off because there's a tube of Pringles next to us and it's talking to me.
Okay, we don't want to have crunching, chomping noises in the microphone. But hey, I hope that you've enjoyed looking over these new Secrets of Strixhaven commanders with us. I hope that some of these inspire you to see the potential in some of these cards, some of them even uncommons. And, maybe we'll see you at a commander table someday. Take care, everybody.
Have fun. Bye bye.